Are you the parent of a toddler who's around a year old, or maybe they're a year and a half or less than 2 years old, and you're hoping to get them to follow more one-step directions? This is a crucial milestone, especially for kids around the age of 1. Hi, my name is Amini. I'm a speech and language pathologist with several years of experience working with children and their parents in clinics and in schools. I also have my own private practice, Smarter Speech, in the Bay Area, California. And my mission with this channel is to empower parents and caregivers of children, especially under the age of 5, because this is when a child's brain is developing so rapidly, and the foundations for speech and language really do influence the way that language develops later on in life. So if little tidbits and tips and bits of knowledge can help with this, then why not? Going back to our question, how can you help your child with following one-step directions? So a really important caveat before I give you my 3 important ways to help this is to look at a child's attention span. So around the age of 1, your child should be able to pay attention to you for around a minute. So maybe they're in a chair or maybe they're on their play mat. They should be able to focus on you and maybe one toy or one activity for just a minute. If they don't have that minute of attention, that is something that you want to suggest to a pediatrician sooner or later. You want to tell them what's going on and then follow any additional steps that they recommend. That is very important to do sooner than later if you have worries about attention for 1 minute. But if your child does have attention for a minute, let's keep going. In terms of following one-step directions, the best way to do this is to model the direction at least 2 or 3 times before you ask your child to follow. This reduces the stress. Your child knows exactly what it is that they're supposed to be doing, and your child is going to associate the words that you use with what it is that you are doing. So, for example, if you are playing with some toy cooking and you want to put the lid on, for example, let's put the lid on. Let's put the lid on. Ready? Let's put the lid on. And then maybe you'd give this to your toddler and see what they do. Can you put the lid on? Your turn. Put on and see what it is that they do. Or say you've got Mr. Potato Head, and maybe you want to put Mr. Potato Head's hat on. So you can say something like, here's our hat. We're going to put it on. Hat on. Hat on. Your turn. Can you put hat on and see what it is that your toddler does? You can do this for every single part of Mr. Potato Head, but you want to do the first part at least a few times before you move on to the next one. So maybe now you're going to talk about putting shoes on. Here's our shoes. We're going to put them on. Our shoes are on. Ta-da! Shoes on. Your turn. Can you put the shoes on? And see if your child will follow. With time, you can reduce your prompting, but especially for new directions and as you're trying to get your child to comply more, you want to make sure that you're giving enough models. That's really what ensures that your child is following those directions. The next thing that I would do is to make sure that when you give your child something to follow, maybe you've done it a few times before. So going back to our cooking utensil here, maybe you're cooking in the kitchen every day. So your child sees you cutting onions, putting in the soup, mixing, and hopefully you're narrating that. So if you want to learn a little bit about narrating what you're doing for 1-year-olds, you can check out the video that I have. I posted the link, but hopefully you're narrating and your child is seeing you do each of these directions. So when it comes time to do pretend play, your child can follow. So when you say, now let's cut the onion, maybe your child will copy the way that you cut. Or maybe put in the soup, put in, ready, let's put in. Your turn, put in. It'll be much more natural. Children love to copy their parents, and they love to copy them, especially based on the things they see them do that are grown up things. So play cooking or playing with a doll where you have to brush the hair, brush the teeth. Those are some types of things that can really help with following directions because they're already seeing you do those things in real life. Play dress up, play cooking, play getting ready, play eating. All of those pretend play toys are great times to work on following directions. The last tip that I have is if you really are not getting any compliance, you can help your child with something called a hand over hand cue. So if you remember when I said model the direction at least 3 times and then give it to your child, there's one of 2 things that can happen. Either your child will follow, great, or your child will not follow. In this case, you can either just do it yourself. So if you tell the child to mix and they didn't mix, you can say, okay, I'm gonna mix. Or after that third model, you can help your child mix. So a hand over hand cue is a very gentle cue where you take the child's hand and you guide them to what it is that you want to do. You don't want to be too rough here and you don't want to force a hand too often. This is just once in a while if you really want that engagement to give that hand over hand cue. The reason is because toddlers don't do well with pressure. So if they feel like you're forcing them, they're going to close up and not open up and want to communicate or play. So you can do the hand over hand cue once in a while if you want to gently guide your child to follow a one-step direction. Actually, the place that I love doing hand over hand cues is with pointing. So pointing is a simple one-step direction, pointing at something in a book. If you want to encourage pointing, the polka dot books by Melissa and Doug are super nice. I've linked them in the description box below. They're not sponsoring this. I just really like these books. So when you are pointing at an animal, you can actually pop the bubble. So, let's point at the chicken. I'm going to point at the chicken. Where's the chicken? So I have to throw it 3 times. That 4th time, maybe I'll give the book to the child and see if they can point at the chicken. If not, I can gently take the child's hand and point with their hand. That way I'm showing them how to pop the bubble and I'm making it a little bit more interactive. Same thing here. Again, notice we're working on pointing, but I'm doing all 3 of our tips. So first I'm going to model over and over again. Let's point to the pig. Where's our pig? Let's point. Oh, here's our pig. Let's point. Do you want to point? No? Okay, I will help you point. Let's see. Again, if your child doesn't want the hand over hand cue, you can just go ahead and fill in the gap and then you can point. Okay, let's point and move on to the next one. Generally with pointing in a book, I just do 1 per page turn because that's usually the attention that a child has at the age of 1. And some kids aren't even that attentive for the entire book. That's okay, especially if the book takes longer than 1 minute. But this is a great way also to practice following directions. 1 step is to point in books. All right, so those are our 3 directions. Remember, repeat 3 times first before you give your child to follow. If they don't follow, you can do a hand over hand cue. And also, if you tend to do directions like pointing or directions that you do in daily routines like cooking or getting somebody ready, that's likely to get you a little bit more follow through than something a little more obscure. So go ahead and give those tips a try. Again, dial down the pressure. Don't make it too stressful, but at the same time, do try to engage your child with those 1-step directions. If you have any concerns or if you keep doing this and you're not seeing improvement, it's a good idea to just mention to your pediatrician what's going on or to reach out to a speech therapist to get a second opinion. Earlier is always better. These tips are not a substitute for speech therapy. If you're looking for some more resources, check out the description box below. There's a link to sign up to our mailing list. There's also a link to our ebook. There's a toddler language ebook that I think would be really relevant for someone who's looking for more tips like this. There's also a toddler parent education course. And I've also linked some of the books and materials that I've used for this tip in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope this helped you. If it did, please subscribe and happy talking.